Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Hall of Fame. And my name is Dominique Boone. I'm the owner and founder of Leslie's Laundry Care. And today I have a special guest. She is an ex judge, a current attorney, and a world traveler, a pioneer of the city of Charlotte. Everybody, welcome Miss Yolanda Trotman.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. So today I just want to talk to you a little bit, very casual,
hmm
and just really pretty much talk about your journey, like where you've come from, and just highlight your story.
Okay.
So thank you so much for being
It's
here.
my pleasure.
Thank you. So I want to start off young Yolanda, like where are you from,
hmm
and talk a little bit about your childhood.
Oh, wow. So I'm from High Point, North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Was there, born and raised there. I'm the daughter of a preacher. I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a teacher's kid. I'm the baby. I'm a Leo, so
Nice.
trifecta plus one. I had probably two of the most amazing parents. They both passed away.
Sorry to hear
And
that.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But my greatest cheerleaders, my dad is probably the person who really, I think, where I really started to see the importance of being involved in the community and social justice, even when I didn't know what that meant, right? So he wasn't your typical fire and brimstone Baptist preacher. He was the one that was more of a teacher, who really engaged in the community in a way that was meaningful, just sitting out on the stoop. You know what I mean? And I even my first one of my first memories of the importance of that is when I think it was probably 8 or 9, and he and some of his attorney friends. I didn't even know what was going on. There were all these meetings, and I just knew that we had to be careful leaving the house because there were threats. I didn't even know what that meant to him. And back then in the 80s, they were still fighting for voting rights. I didn't understand like why that was significant as a child, but as an adult, what do you mean we're still fighting for voting rights in
Right.
the 80s? You know what I mean? Um, and so my mom was a teacher. She was a biology teacher. She was the teacher that was like everybody's mama. High school biology teacher. I actually had her twice.
Oh,
Once
nice.
for biology. Yeah, she didn't cut me any slack. And once for advanced biology. Um, and she's the reason why I was a teacher, became a teacher before I decided to go to law school. In part because I had a scholarship. I was a teaching fellow, which paid for college in exchange for teaching.
Oh, nice.
But she was the one that really encouraged that and inspired that type of energy when I decided to teach first. So I say all that to say my parents really kind of encouraged who Yo Yo, that was my nickname,
Oh,
still is, like who Yo Yo was going to be by how they continued to encourage me to be inquisitive. To now I was something else. Now I was something else. I was kind of like I wanted to be like my big sister, and I wanted to be a tomboy, and I was that kid who was like involved in everything and student council, all of that stuff. But they encouraged and shaped like I think who I ultimately became as a woman. Right now, I can say that I didn't understand that at the time.
Right.
But yeah, growing up in the 70s, early 80s, nothing like it.
Wow.
Nothing like it in terms of playing outside and in music and records and the things that I treasure now that I didn't understand the importance of, like my mama's record collection or 8 track.
Yeah.
Like, no, who has a 8 track player? I do. So, those
Right.
types of things. And the importance of building relationships and building community. Like, I learned that now. I understand that now in so many different ways as a kid. I was outspoken, oftentimes labeled as brash and blunt. I wear that proudly sometimes in what I do now.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely an outgoing kid. And I had a lot of great role models growing up as well.
No, I love that. And even speaking to like your father being a pastor, so like how did that play impact in your faith, like as a grown woman or just growing up, like in
Right.
general, like how did God like really just speak through your father and just be the woman who you are today?
So we all evolve spiritually, right? So as a kid, I wasn't the kid where you had to be involved in everything, and I'm so
Okay.
grateful for that because I had other friends who had, you know, parents or a father who was a preacher, and they had to be involved in everything, very close, no secular music, all of that. And then what would typically happen, they would go away to college and they'd just go butt booty
Right.
wild. So I
That's
didn't
a
have
fact.
that
Be so sheltered.
experience. I mean, I got away with stuff
Yeah.
because I was Reverend Trotman's daughter. Don't get
Okay.
it twisted. But that that being in church and that expectation and all of that, like I said, he was a teaching pastor, so it never felt like I was being preached to all the
Yeah.
time. But I will say, because of who he was, I never wanted to disappoint him. So while I could get away with stuff and, all
Yeah.
of that, I never wanted to do anything that I was going to disappoint him or the family. And I think that's kind of why I made a lot of the decisions that I made growing up, because I didn't want to disappoint. Because they were my biggest cheerleaders, right? Now, as I got older, my dad became my best friend.
Nice.
So it was spirituality and going to church and all that was important, but I didn't want it to be performative. And he always taught me, don't be performative, develop your own personal relationship with God, and lean into that, because that's the quiet times.
Yeah.
That's the quiet moments when you're at home, whether you're on your knees in prayer or just laying in the bed talking to God. He always taught me that that's the most important thing, because I always remember seeing him praying at night. I have constant memories of I happen to getting ready to go into the room, and I pause because I see him on the edge of the bed in prayer.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was ever a time that he didn't, but I have constant memories of that.
Wow.
So, but I think as I got older, and especially after he passed, I think I did have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
Just questions of how am I navigating that space with losing them a year and a half apart as a grown woman and feeling like an orphan.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to explain that, but I think, but at the same time, all of the big moves, every single big move I've made in my life has been with a conversation with God.
Wow.
Often flying by the seat of my pants. Big, huge leaps of faith, like huge leaps of faith, from when I decided to go to law school, or when I decided to run for judge, or when I decided to leave the bench. Like, huge, huge leaps of faith, but faith-based, definitely faith-driven. And that's the personal relationship that I think that's more important than the performative side that I think some people tend to rely on, as a demonstration of faith.
No, I love that, because I'm a Christian also, and I love God, and that's one of the things I think that deter people away from God. Like, in this age, it's like, you don't have to perform, but when you really have a relationship with God, you don't have to explain it to anybody.
Right.
It's going to show up in your order. It's going to order your steps, so it's going to show. And I really appreciate you saying that and sharing that with the viewers, because it's important to have your own relationship. And even I feel like growing up, it was like my parents kind of reflected their faith on me. It wasn't until I got out here into the real world, like, no, girl, you better get on your knees and pray.
Yeah.
You better get your prayer cloth. Like, you better really understand, and like really understanding the word, because I feel like I'm in a season of building community and really understanding the Bible.
Absolutely.
Like, going through it myself and understanding the stories, and not just, I go to church every Sunday, but they only pull out a few scriptures. Like,
Right.
you really need to be able to go on your own and understand what God is trying to say to you. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for even sharing that with
course.
us. Yes. So talk a little bit about, so after, I know you said you lost your parents a year and a half apart. Like, talk a little bit about mental health in that aspect of grief.
Right. So my mother passed in 2006 suddenly. She had an aneurysm.
Okay.
Rocked my whole maternal side of the family, because in all actuality, like, once my grandparents passed, out of all the siblings that were still living, she was kind of the one that was holding the glue together, or the glue that was holding everything together. Y'all gonna come to this,
Right.
we gonna have this family
Yeah.
reunion.
Okay, that's
and
Big
you
Mama
gonna
sound
bring
like.
this, So she was that was her.
Okay.
And so, because it was so sudden, on one hand, you have this extraordinary grief, and passing in the home that I grew up in, and all of that trauma. And I never had that level of trauma before. Like, I've had my grandparents passed, and you're sad, but I'm in my late teens, early 20s. It's not, it's not that type of grief. And then my dad, because there was a age difference between them in about 20 years. Like my dad was 50 when I was born. Yes,
Really?
my
Okay.
dad was 50 when I was
Wow.
born. So, um, even though my parents had divorced, they were still close,
Okay.
right? And so when she passed, he was dealing with some health issues, but then I started to see him go downhill. He had retired. When he retired preaching, we started to see, which I never wanted him to, but he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
He was an ordained minister since he was 17. But when I started to see him go downhill, that was the emotional drain. It brought me and my siblings, I think, closer together. But I'll say the difference between her passing and his passing, I think, was most profound when he actually transitioned. And so, he had been in nursing care. They had transferred him to hospice. Now, at this point, he's up in Elizabeth City, up near the coast. And so, we had been there for a couple of days. And I think the anxiety for me, mental health wise, okay, now I know this is happening. What does this mean for me? Like, what's going to happen when he actually passes? So I
Right.
have all of these things in my head. Like, is he going to gasp for air? Is he going, like,
Right.
all of these things that I didn't want to have that to be my last image of my dad,
Yeah.
right? So, he's there, he's transitioning, he's not speaking, his body is starting to break down, but it's not the way that I expected. So, like, we're all in the room, like, my siblings, a couple of cousins, we're all just holding watch, right? And so this goes on for like a day and a half. I'm afraid that I think we may have left once or twice, but nobody wanted to leave. I know I didn't because I didn't want to miss the time that he leaves us. So we at one point when I tell this story, it's really hard to describe. But there was one point we're all exhausted. I think we had been up like 36 hours. Everybody's tired. And, it's a big enough room. There's like some chairs. So we all agree everybody's going to go to sleep. We're going to cut the lights off, but we're all going to at
Right.
least get some rest. I kid you not. Everybody cuts the lights off. We lay there for a second. Everybody's just trying to get comfortable, and we don't hear him breathe. Like, because you could hear him breathing, but that's the first time we don't hear him breathe. So we all naturally jump up. We cut the lights off, cut the lights on, and realize, okay, I think he's gone. The one thing that we did, I always get chills when I tell this. Woo. Mm. So we all got around his bed and we said the Lord's Prayer. And all of us had our head down because we're holding hands and we're circling the bed and we're saying the Lord's Prayer. And we open our eyes, there's a hospice nurse behind us and she's crying, like tears streaming down her face. And we're like, what happened? She was like, you all didn't see it. She's like, he took his last breath while you were praying over him. I said, and it was so beautiful. And so we're all like, that's what he wanted, because he always said, I never wanted to die alone.
Wow.
But I will say that was probably one of the most profound things in my understanding mind, body, soul connection, and knowing that your soul is temporary here on this planet.
Amen.
Because when we looked at him, not only was his face peaceful, like physically he looked 20 years younger. He wasn't contorted, like his skin looked different, his hair looked darker.
Wow.
And like my sister and I are looking like he is truly not, his spirit has truly transcended. We didn't
Right.
say those words, but it was like we weren't busting out in tears and
Yeah.
crying and falling out.
You were
And I'm not
okay.
trying to be funny when I say
No,
that.
I understand.
But I'm just saying, like, it was like, okay, let's make the calls, let's get the things done, because we all had this sense of peace. He's not here anymore.
Right.
And he's not the whole, we all say, oh, he's not suffering. No, really, like this, like his physical body that has been left behind is a testament to his work on earth and God's grace, because he looked like a completely different person. Like even people when they came to the funeral, oh my God, like he looked like a completely
Wow.
different, younger version of himself. And that's the image of him I could hold on to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was the faith journey. But then you go through all of that, and then the mental health issue, then the depression sets in.
Yeah.
Then that's, who do I talk to?
Right.
You know, my dad was my best friend, and, you know, I'm going through issues in a relationship that I'm in. And, you know, that you go through that part of feeling like, well, okay, so I don't have somebody that takes that place for me. And how do you navigate that part? So I don't know if I would call. I don't think I ever went through like a true depression, but I definitely went through the stages of grief.
Okay.
But then little things happened where I realized, and I took a couple of spiritual journeys to Sedona, which is like my favorite place. If y'all see me in
Wow.
Sedona, I got
Okay.
some stuff on my mind,
Okay.
and I had to talk to God. But I was drawn back to Sedona.
Mhm.
It's an amazing place, and I just had some experiences there that made me become even more of a spiritual person and less dogma religion.
Mm.
Because I think those things are certainly interconnected. But it's that anybody who loses a parent, you're going through that. You're going through, it's a childhood. You almost have a childhood trauma rather that you have to work through. Not because you were mistreated or
Right.
anything like that, because I never had that experience.
Okay.
But it's the trauma of, okay, but where do I go next?
Right.
Like for me personally, it was that now all of a sudden I don't have a sense of urgency to get married.
Mhm.
Who's gonna walk me down the aisle? You know
Right.
what I mean? There's no sense of urgency. Okay, you're getting 40. Maybe you should go ahead and have those kids. My sister had kids.
Yeah.
I helped with raising them. I'm good.
Okay.
So, even those things that you don't realize are attached to that spiritual journey, I think is important. Because it certainly shaped me that way. God, girl,
No.
you just gonna let me go on and
I
on.
love it. No, girl, keep sharing, cause look, you gonna help somebody today. No, I love that. When you okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk
Okay.
about, because I understand what you said when you mentioned um, loved ones look younger when they transition, or even like I have vivid dreams
Mm-hmm.
where I would see loved ones that have passed on, and they
You have
look
a gift.
so young
Mm-hmm.
and happy, and it just gives me the peace that I need
Mm-hmm.
for that moment. And so, look, I love that what you said about your dad, and I know
Yeah.
he's proud of you
Thank you.
and everything that you're doing. He's with you always. So you talked about
Sedona.
Sedona,
Yeah.
and let's talk about your traveling, because I feel like, girl, you be
Girl.
outside, okay?
Especially in the last
So
couple years, for
I
sure.
love that.
Yeah.
So let's just speak a little bit about your traveling. Like, what made you just say, I'm going to travel the world? And like, just maybe speak about your favorite place that you would
Okay.
that you would love to maybe live, but you just like to visit.
Okay. So the solo travel, which is kind of my jam.
Okay.
Um, my first solo trip was I had a breakup with an ex, and
Okay.
I believe it was in 2012. I think it was in 2012. And we had planned on going to Asheville for the weekend.
Okay.
Had a breakup, but the room was paid for. And I was like, I'm going to go anyway. Go anyway. I remember I went to Biltmore, wandered around, took a few pictures, but the thing that I felt most uncomfortable with was taking myself out to dinner. And I
Okay.
remember when I left to go out, I picked this seafood place. I remember I remember it was a bar that had oysters or something, because I just wanted oysters. And when I walked in, I was so self-conscious. I didn't want to be placed at a table in the middle of the room and everybody's like, oh, she's there by herself.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking people are
Right.
saying. But, but I never really had to do that.
Okay.
So I posted up at the bar, had a ball. Oh my God, made friends with the bartender and had the best time. Second night, I think I went somewhere, ended up posting up at the bar, talked to people, all the things. And that stuck with me because I knew, one, you most certainly can go and have your own fun and start to get to know yourself and be your own
Absolutely.
best company. I remember back then on my iPod, I still have it. Like I was just playing music, just dancing around the hotel room, just by myself, singing as
Okay.
loud singing at the top of my lungs, all the things. So that kind of sparked it. So I started doing little trips. And so like when I talk about solo tripping on my IG or whatever, I'm specifically talking to women because there's a sense of freedom that is
Absolutely.
there, but you have to start small. So I
Absolutely.
always tell people, "Ooh, don't go and do some international
Right.
passport. That's a lot. I
Right.
wouldn't do that, especially in this day and age. But start with a road trip. Like I started doing these waterfall trips. I go find a waterfall,
Oh, I
drive
love
out there, walk
that.
around, do a little hike, come back, get me something to eat. Like I started small with
Okay.
those types of trips. Then you build up to overnight. Then you go somewhere else and then build up into that, um, but there's a sense of freedom that I love about that.
Mhm.
And then later it became my work life balance escape.
Okay.
As the work started piling up, when I Speak was really popping once I left the bench.
Mhm.
When I was on the bench, most of my travel in that time, that was the first time I had to ask for permission to go
Wow.
somewhere. So that was that was
Yeah.
that was
Different.
something. And so I started working around my weekends, right?
Okay.
Okay, so all right, I'll leave out after court and come back Sunday night.
Okay.
Or when football season, when we had that magical Panther season, I was going to all the games and all of that. So, um, but now it is my escape. And
Okay.
especially after everything that happened with me in 2023 with, the medical issues and all of that came out of
Mhm.
nowhere, then my thought process truly changed how short life is.
Okay.
And I was like, if I'm ready to go, I'm gone. I
Yeah.
don't have time to wait on folks. But what I do every year in November is I block out my calendar for the year. I pick which weeks I'm going to take secure leave. I pick a weekend a month where I'm
Okay.
taking off a Friday or a Monday. 95% of the time I have no idea where I'm going when I block off my calendar,
Okay.
but gives me fidelity to make sure that I take time for myself. So it may be I may look at the calendar and say, dang, I got to go somewhere. I'll
Right.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, but I have to be true to myself and just go because, what I learned when everything happened to me in 2023, I am replaceable. They will get
Mm.
another lawyer.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to wait on you. Your the people that you think are going to show up for you may
Right.
not show up for you, but you got to show up for yourself. And you have to take care of yourself because if you don't, who else will? Oh, and
Yes.
favorite place. Jesus, girl, I don't know.
You gotta have at least one. Like, yeah,
I
I would
got a
go here
lot.
anytime.
That's the problem.
Okay, tell
Um,
me one international and one domestic for any woman that is, like you said, because I feel like breakups. Let's be real with women, we be going through it, and sometimes you just need that quiet time.
yes, absolutely. Um, I would say internationally, if it's the Caribbean, it's a tie between Anguilla and St. Martin. That's where I've been the most in the
Okay.
last couple of years. And because, once you go to a place and you make
Yeah.
friends, it's like homecoming now
You
when I
right.
go back. So it's not
Like
like,
I'm on
oh,
the
I'm
way
like,
back.
y'all, I'm coming there like, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And
Yeah.
there's never a dull moment.
Okay.
I would say there and then Florence, Italy. I
Okay.
love Italy. Italy loves me.
Wow.
And yeah, so Italy for sure, Florence specifically. Domestically, if I want to get away and the weather's great, I love either Destin, Florida,
Okay.
or
That's decent.
Pensacola because it gives you the feel of Caribbean
Yeah.
just because of the water and the sand, or Siesta Key, somewhere around there if it's East Coast. Um, but if it's gonna be like a turn up trip, oh, it's got to be Vegas.
Always.
It's got to be Vegas.
That's number
Easy
one.
peasy, yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. I love that. And we need to have more conversations around self-care because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like especially as black women, we're always taught to just show up as the strong one of the family. Like you
Right.
mentioned, like your mom was the glue.
Mm-hmm.
Like Big Mama, like once Big Mama gone, the family just go down.
Yeah.
So I agree with that, and I love waterfalls too, girl. That's my thing. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Start doing that.
we got a new fun trip.
Yes.
Cause they have a few even in the area like that you go
Within
to.
2 hours.
Yes.
2 hours. Do a hike.
Mhm.
Get the view. Get the peace.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love it. So let's talk about dating
Okay.
in Charlotte. Okay.
Now I'm 51. Now my vantage point is gonna be from a 51-year-old woman.
Okay.
Just okay, but anyway, go ahead and finish.
Period.
Go ahead and finish.
So what are the in general? Okay, do you like young or old?
Girl, oh my God, I didn't know we were getting all of
Okay, well you don't have to answer that.
I
Just-
totally was
okay.
understand it. Okay, so yes, as a single woman, it's weird, and I'm a preface this by what a friend of mine who is a matchmaker, and I think this
Okay.
is a perfect example. So when I decided to run for judge in 2014, it was still very much taboo to be a black woman single with no husband.
Really?
Oh yeah, and there are some judges that ended up getting married before they ran because running in that role and there's no Mr. whomever
Right.
was still taboo, right? And I
Wow.
knew, oh yeah, girl, yeah. And so one of my friends, I reached out to a matchmaker
Okay.
who was local. I was like, sis, because I tried to get together with the ex, still good friends, but nah, this is
Right.
not gonna work. I can't be, we can't, no, no, absolutely not.
Okay.
But we were still cool. Like, he DJ'd one of my fundraisers, still cool, but no,
Right.
no. So she was trying to match me, and the thing that she kept seeing was that I think at that point I was maybe 30, 39. You're so hard to match because your spirit is so young, but it, older makes sense to you, but I'm having a hard time finding someone who is older or your age that you all would have that good energy or that compatibility,
Okay.
right? So I was like, okay, and we tried. But at that point I was just like, whatever, I'm going to do me
Right.
and whatever. So, and it was crazy that I would always have these fundraisers and all kinds of people would show up, and but there was never a guy that was there consistently. You know what? Right before the election, I'll never forget, there's someone, I will never say her name, but she started a rumor that I was gay. Oh yes she did. Oh
Really?
yes she did. And it was the day that I was having a fundraiser with the LGBTQ community when Dan Monty was still living. Crystal Richardson, a couple other people were hosting it. And this particular person asked, well, why are you supporting her? They were like, that's my girl. We love her. All that.
Right.
We love her. But this same person started a rumor that I was gay. And I was like, if
Wow.
you knew how much I love, you might want to bleep this out. If you knew how much I love, girl. But I thought it was a joke, and then there was a
Wow.
rumor at one point that maybe it's her campaign manager, because they seem to be really tight. Which incidentally became she's my very
Wow.
best friend, like my sister. I got to choose, but yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Wow. No, I
Because I
get it.
say
It's
that
Charlotte.
because perception was
Right.
like, well, there's nothing wrong with her. She must not like. She must
Man,
not like me.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yes I do. Yes I do. So anyway, I digress. Let me get back on track. But but currently, but like at that point, trying to date as a judge was nearly impossible,
Okay.
especially locally, because people knew me. Like,
Yeah.
even when I would go out, I would have to be so aware of my surroundings.
Yeah.
I had my crew that, like, if I'm back in the day when I would go to Sports One for football games, and
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
remember
rowdy because
Sports
I'm
One.
rowdy. I love football. If I'm standing up in the chair, well, wait,
Yeah.
who's watching? You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
I don't want to end up on somebody's YouTube.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, currently I'm looking for compatibility and chemistry, and
Okay.
that's hard to find. I find myself, like, I don't have a particular type, but I do, for example, I want somebody who, takes care of themselves, in good shape,
Absolutely.
physically attractive, all that, but fun.
Right.
So you could be older with a young spirit,
Right.
or you could be younger with an old soul.
Okay.
So it's not really an age thing.
Okay.
It's, is there compatibility and is there chemistry? And that's the hardest thing. And I always tell, when I'm dating men, like, well, why have you never been married? I was like, first of all, I've been doing family law for 20 plus years.
Right.
I've seen everybody's shit.
Yeah.
Like, all
Yeah,
of it.
like-
I don't want to make those mistakes.
Yeah,
And, I never wanted to be a baby mama. That's why I
Okay.
didn't have kids outside of marriage.
Yeah.
I never wanted to do those things. I didn't want to be tied to somebody for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
Over a short-term, fly-by-night relationship.
Right.
If so, I could have been had kids
Right.
multiple different ways. I was in serious relationships, but if it wasn't right, it wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's, I think, for me, I just don't take it that seriously, because I went
Okay.
through this phase. I'm gonna be outside.
Okay.
I don't want to date anybody seriously. I just want to enjoy myself. I've kind of dialed that back a little bit, but I just don't. I just kind of see people as they are,
Okay.
because I feel like COVID has really, really exposed issues with how men and women communicate.
Absolutely.
Microwave society, there's always another person. You can always swipe,
Yeah.
all of those things. So I don't take it as seriously now as I think I would have maybe 10 years ago, when those
Okay.
things weren't so readily available. But what I want is something organic. So, people complain about Charlotte all the time. I don't, because there's people everywhere.
Right.
You're
That's
not
so
going to meet
true.
him sitting in the house all the time. Go do something. Just go do something. Get a hobby. Like, I'm really not trying to be
No,
funny.
but
I'm
that's
just saying,
real.
Go do
No,
something.
that's
Go
real.
out. Have
Yeah.
fun. Don't be afraid to approach somebody.
Right.
Like, don't sit in the corner. Like, if you go to the club or the lounge or whatever, you're sitting in the corner with all your girls,
Right.
he's not coming over there.
Right.
Like,
He's
he's not
intimidated.
coming
Right.
over there.
Yeah.
You get up and he's at the bar, roll up.
No, I love that.
You know what I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I don't have a problem with rolling up, but
Yeah.
I also, I really don't. But, you entertain the possibility of dating someone somewhere else or long distance or whatever. But I don't think it's as bad as most people say it is. I think sometimes it can be a challenge because of, circles of people that I know. And I'm not going to date you. You cool people, but I would never date you because,
Right.
I'm just not going to do that. But I'm just looking for that magical combination of compatibility and chemistry. I'm not husband hunting.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But, I also don't want to be 60 and unmarried either.
Okay.
So, but I also love my life.
Yeah.
I want my little house in an island somewhere, in Italy somewhere, and have a cat or two, God willing, and Foxy and Apollo are still around, or a taco stand or something.
Right.
I don't know, but I want to be able if it's somebody that is that divine mate,
Okay.
then that will happen organically because I do believe he's out there.
But where do you go in the city of Charlotte? I know you travel a lot, but let's just talk about locally because that's where we're at. Girl, where we at?
Again, I am talking from a 51-year-old woman. So
Girl,
this is
we
not
be at the same spot.
to the third. So then you know the answers. I guess it depends on what you like, right?
Okay.
So I may, explore somewhere different that I haven't been in a while.
Okay.
Like I like to do something unusual. Like take me on a date and go axe throwing or mini golf.
Okay.
Or we go to the range or a gun range, something like something different.
Range. Okay.
But I also am a foodie. So go, but in terms of meeting people, that's obviously not where that happens. But I met a really dope guy at a cooking class once.
Nice.
Really liked him. We liked each other. He ended up having to move away for work. But interesting things that are different.
Okay.
I want to say it's Eventbrite or something. There was I don't go to it anymore where there's groups that meetups. I think it was called Meetup or something like that. I used to do that, like interesting meetups and different things. So, but I just think you find it, or I would love to find it organically. I'm not opposed to dating sites. I'll swipe. A lot of swiping. And let me tell you, Dominique, like side note, you might have to cut this clip, but why is it in real life, I kid you not, y'all gonna have to cut this, but in real life, truth be told, like I've never dated a white guy.
Really? Okay.
I've dated Puerto Rican men. I'm gonna explain that in a second.
Okay.
And mainly because I'm a historian, because I was a history teacher, like the idea is difficult for me to date somebody white unless the personality is one that would align with my spirit.
Okay.
Like I can't see it. I don't need the ancestors on the edge of my bed every night. I don't want my daddy and my mama on the bed like what's going on? I don't need them problems.
But look, you say you love Italy. They love black women.
I love Italy and they love me, but is that the same? I don't know if that's the same. I think Italian men are just fundamentally different.
You're right.
Like Eurocentric, yes.
You're right.
But I think how they view black women is an appreciation and awe.
Absolutely. You're right.
And not in seeing us where a lot of white men, whether they intentionally do or not, they have those slave fantasies, that slave fetish, that historical
that's real.
understanding or believing that black women are more promiscuous and all of those things they've been taught, the forbidden fruit, all of that. And that's just from a historical standpoint. There's no dispute to that. So anyway, but the point of that is about to go on a tangent. But in real life, white men don't approach me. Even when I go to social events or fundraisers or things where you can meet people organically, I apparently don't give off I date white guy energy. I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
But on these dating sites,
they want
Bubba
you.
from Gastonia is like, oh my God. And I'm like, Bubba, what part of me gives off that you gonna be
Dang,
chopped up in your
okay,
backyard.
like
I'm not even.
what's
I'm not
going
girl.
on?
I'm not gonna be chopped up in this man's backyard.
No, that's
I'm just
real though,
not.
because you know what? I've never had success on dating websites.
Hmm.
I was catfished before.
Oh,
Okay, let's just
girl,
start there.
we be here for 2 hours talking
Okay.
about that.
But like you said, like the organically. So I
Right.
did speed dating the other day at the
Hmm.
Hornets game. It was like right
Okay.
before the game. It
Hmm.
was like an hour and a half
Okay.
long. You come in, you scan a QR code, and
Hmm.
you answer like 20 dating questions about,
Interesting.
hey, do you want children? Do you want to be married? Whatever. And so they pair you in like 5 groups based on
Hmm.
your answers.
Hmm.
And then they pair you with somebody in the group. But I didn't find anybody, but it was a good experience because it was my first one. Because when I think of speed dating, I think of somebody's in front of you, they ring a bell, it's 10 minutes, you
Hmm.
speak to them, and then you move on to the next one.
Hmm.
So the Hornets was it was a different situation because it was people from like 25 years old to
Right.
60. Like it was no cut. That's why I actually like younger old. It was just like everybody, like anybody you would see at a game.
Right.
It was literally like we're just sitting there having a good time. It was a good time. They had a DJ and everything. But one girl was like, well, yeah, I'm here. And usually I come to things like this to find a friend. I'm like, girl, I have enough friends. Like I'm trying to find a man. So that's why I asked the question, like,
Yeah.
where do you find people in the city of Charlotte? So I like what you said, like cooking classes,
Hmm.
hobbies. Like I do hot yoga.
Hmm.
And so men are in there that we're, like you said, we have the same goals and we have the
Gym
same
is good,
things.
but that can be, depends on where you go. Because if I'm not going to the gym where everybody, is everything's out.
Right.
Like, because I'm never, you're not gonna see me with everything out.
Okay.
And I don't want that kind of a, because I don't want you rolling up on me because I'm barely,
Yeah.
everything's barely covered, and I'm doing the squats and looking
Right.
back and looking at this and no, I'm not doing that. I'm not
You like
her.
the way it's sitting.
I'm
You
just
like,
and it is, but
Like-
are you going to the gym to work out?
Right. Or
Like when
find
I would go with
somebody.
my
Right.
trainers, like we're working out, like he'll do some recording, but we working.
Right.
I'm not looking
Right.
around to see who's watching
not trying
me
to
or
find a
watching
date.
us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, the gym is good too. But I mean, I just
Okay.
think socially, I think Charlotte's getting better in terms of options.
Okay.
But you can't just, you have to be intentional and diligent in finding places like that to go and do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got meetups.
Wine tasting, stuff like that. Especially when
love that.
when the weather breaks. Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's coming. Like I love how you said I haven't given up on love.
Oh,
Basically,
definitely
like
not.
it's coming and organically. Like to your point, it's not forced. You
Mhm.
know. So and no exes. Okay.
Let it go. Rearview mirror for a reason.
I love that. Okay, so you say you don't have any children. Do you
No
want
kids.
children?
No.
Okay.
No. I decided for the most part when I went on the bench that I didn't want to have kids. And I
Okay.
never felt like I really missed anything because, I was very involved with helping, my sister and raising my niece and nephew.
Okay.
Everybody's an adult now. So, I just never felt like I missed anything.
Okay.
And then when I was on the bench and then I started I Speak, that was kind of the kid fix because I was working with elementary to high school students. So that kind of filled that niche when I kind of was like, well, I'm 43, maybe. And then it's like, no, that's not what I want. Because what I Speak taught me is that my legacy is not going to be tied to birthing a baby. My legacy is going to be tied to the lives I've been able to impact, whether it's a client, whether it's an I Speak student, or whatever. And even if that interaction is short, but that impact is lasting, and you never know. Like I've had experiences where I never knew that it's impacted that kid like that. But your legacy is not tied to giving birth
Okay.
or having a child. Like, and I think once we understand that, and especially Black women
Yes.
understand that because there's so much pressure in our community. But I think once women really understand that, that's important, especially for women who can't give birth or who can't have children. But I think that's important under those circumstances as well. And most certainly when everything happened with me in 23, because I was on birth control, that definitely was like, oh no, like,
Right.
oh no, we won't
Yeah.
be having kids because at that point I can still conceive, which is wild, but my hormone levels say I can't. So my body hasn't caught up from everything that happened in 23. And at this point, I wouldn't put myself in a position because I'm 51, first of all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I just once I realized my legacy wasn't attached to giving birth, it changed everything.
Wow.
You know how I viewed myself, and not feeling like, okay, I've got to now, I've got to
Yeah.
now,
The pressure.
versus making a decision and getting with a man or trying other means just for the sake of that, especially when you could adopt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If that was something that I wanted to do as well.
I love that. So, can you speak to what I Speak is and
Yes.
how it impacts the community?
So I am bringing that back beginning in the fall.
Okay.
So I Speak Now, the letter I, SPEAK now,
Okay.
started that as a judge, and it is a mock trial concept. I have an elementary, middle, and high school model, and
Okay.
it's like a mock trial on steroids, right?
Wow.
So I go to the school. It's me and volunteers, depending on the school, because every school I've tweaked it.
Okay.
So there's a mock trial concept or a fact pattern where I teach them about the system to keep them out of the system so that they can see that their possibilities are endless or limitless. And so, for example, imagine fourth and fifth graders who are suited and booted coming to the courthouse. They take over the courtroom. The bailiff calls court to order.
Wow.
The only person that has help is the judge, because I sit beside the judge. But that judge is reading actual jury instructions that would be read to a real jury.
Wow.
The jurors have been sequestered, so they actually go back in the jury room and deliberate. The attorneys have done their own questions. The witnesses are in character. There's a media team that is covering the case and doing
Wow.
breaking news, because they created their own fictitious news station at the beginning, back when Twitter was a thing, and they would create that. So it was designed specifically for Title I schools, kids that look like me, and it was because I never understood as a judge the perspective of when you walk into a room with that much power, literally,
Yeah.
but how much it can affect you when you see what your courtroom looks like every day. So the impetus for me was I got involved in what was like truancy court in schools. And the judge would say, "Oh, we do this mock trial with the kids. These are kids who hadn't been coming to school for whatever reason." I had Oakdale Elementary School, went there, and they were like, "Oh, we do this mock trial." I was like, "Well, what is that?" And then they explained. I said, "Oh, that's silly. We can do better than that."
Okay.
But imagine these are kids who don't come to school now.
Right.
I have an hour with them. I just wrote up this really quick 2-paragraph fact pattern: SpongeBob versus Patrick over some Krabby Patties or whatever.
Right.
Gave it to the kids. These two kids are going to do this. You're going to do that. I had maybe 2 sessions of work with them. Brought them to the courthouse. They knocked it out the
Wow.
park. The kid who was Patrick decided he was going to talk like Patrick when he
Wow.
testified. Same thing with SpongeBob. I didn't expect any of that.
Right.
And that's what was just an idea became ultimately what we piloted, what was getting all of this momentum. But then I found myself having to choose between I Speak and the bench. And there were some other things. I promise I got to write this book, but there were some other things that happened
Yes.
that I almost quit. Like, this is not for me.
Right.
One incident surrounding when Keith Lamont Scott got murdered and everything happened in
Yes.
Charlotte. I don't know if you were living here
Yes.
then. But then I found myself having to choose between the two. If I stay, I can't continue to do this, because they had moved me out of criminal court where I had flexibility suddenly into family court where I had none. And at first, and the timing didn't make sense. I found out why later. That probably needs to go in the book. But then I found myself like, Lord, this is one of those big leaps. So I go to God in prayer. Okay, Lord, if this is the time, let me know. That was also the same year that Roy Cooper won, but Pat McCrory was challenging him from the governor's race.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, the reason why I didn't leave before is that I didn't want a Republican being appointed to the seat. I wanted to at least protect the seat, and then whoever comes onto that seat that gets appointed is at least going to protect the reason why I ran in the first place, to break up what was happening to black and brown people who were coming in front of these particular judges. And so Roy gets certified. God speaks, it's time to move. I'm like, are you sure? He was like, yes. I will never forget packing up my office. I made the announcement. All hell broke loose. What do you mean she's leaving? And now here come the rumors. Something must be wrong. Is she sick? Is she pregnant? Like what? Why is she leaving? Because judges don't do that.
Wow.
They don't just say I'm out. You
Yeah.
either got to get voted out,
Right.
or you lose an You either lose an election or you retire. Period.
Right.
Nobody just resigns halfway through their term. So anyway, left. Best move ever.
Okay.
There was one particular time that I was kind of like looking around. I was like, girl, you really getting ready to leave? Your parents aren't here. You don't have any money saved. You sold everything. I sold everything. I literally,
Wow.
Dominique, restarted my practice with 2 chairs and a coat rack.
Wow.
That's it. That's all I had.
Wow.
And whatever little savings I had, that I had left from my practice, and a little bit of retirement from the state.
Wow.
Huge leap of faith. But that I Speak took off, fabulous, and then here comes literally the day before the world shut down. We were in a school. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna be out for a week because of this COVID thing." I was like, "Okay, y'all, we be back in a week," and we all know what happened next.
Right.
2.5 years later, we just never came back. So everything just kind of fell apart. And then schools are open, but now the courthouse has all this plexiglass. And then when I was getting to a point, okay, well, let me rebuild the board. Let's open. Then everything happened with me in 23, and I was like, okay, it's not the time. But now it's been pulling at me for so long. And I started it because they say all rise. You walk into the courtroom, and I never knew until I was on the opposite side how it would affect you mentally to see a sea full of black people almost every day. Knowing that that's not what crime looks like, knowing that's not statistically even possible, but also knowing that's because black neighborhoods are being over-policed in this city. The same crimes are happening at the same rate in white communities, but they're not policing Myers Park the way they police Beatties Ford or West Boulevard.
Right.
So, that started to take a toll on me, because it's just, and then having to be under the microscope all the time, and from how I got to fix my face on a higher level, and even the littlest things like the microaggressions from white attorneys. Even one day I went to the gym. I had to take this side real quick. I went to the gym. I didn't have time to go back and curl my hair. I put my hair back in a ponytail. I will never forget it. I still had on put my suit back on, all that. I walk into the courtroom, and you would have thought I had a whole horn growing out the middle of my forehead. The people were looking like, is her hair pulled back? Like, literally, I'm hearing people, why is her hair pulled back? Like, is something wrong with her? Like, what's going on? And I was like, I have my hair in a ponytail. I went to the gym because I'm getting fat, because this stress is real. And why aren't y'all
care
telling
about
me
my
that
wellness? Can I?
Girl, I tell you, leaving the bench was the best thing. I couldn't wear not one of my suits when I left the bench. I had no idea that stress fat was that real. Until, because I wasn't wearing suits anymore.
Right.
I was just wearing loose dresses, and I didn't care about I was wearing the Spanx, but I was so much heavier. And I'm looking at, when I'm doing, news stuff with I Speak, I was like, y'all didn't tell me. Like, girl, you getting fat.
Ain't nobody tell me nothing.
Nobody tell me. And then Facebook is rude, because it'll show you that.
Right.
It'll
like
show
5
you
years
memory.
ago, like, dang, that was me.
You didn't tell me. Facebook is so rude.
No,
so
I
rude.
love that. Well, this comes to the point in the show where I do want to give you your flowers, and these are yours.
Thank you.
Just for reaching back into the community. I mean, it's very important not only to reach back and help our youth, but also like be who you say you are. Yeah. And I feel like in every instance, like, we be cutting up, okay? But you are who you say you are. And I just really appreciate that about you, especially in the city of Charlotte. Black women, you're just one of those ones. So I just want to give you your flowers. Continue to do great in the community. Like you said, like my daughter's in 4th grade. If she's able to go into a courthouse and see how things work, she might say, oh, I want to be a lawyer one day. Might want to be a judge. It just changed their perspective, just being able to just have that experience. So congrats on your I Speak. I can't wait to the fall, and just let me know if I can support in any way.
Absolutely.
And I just appreciate you. I'm giving you your flowers today to know that that's awesome what you're doing in the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes. So With your transition between judge and attorney, what made you want to have your own practice?
Well, I had my own practice before.
Okay.
So I started off at the public defender's office. I was there for 2 years, and
Okay.
then I went out in a private practice first with a partner for about 8 or 9 months, and then I went out on my own
Okay.
at the beginning of late 2004. So
Okay.
I was in my own practice before I decided to
Oh,
run.
nice. Okay.
Always doing criminal defense, family, all that. But when I left and came back, I started doing civil rights and personal injury because I just kind of wanted to do something different. Still do the family, still do the criminal defense, but expanded it that way. So I, with the exception of being at the public defender's office, which was an amazing training ground, because it shaped me becoming a trial lawyer, a true trial lawyer. I've always been on my own.
I love
Always.
that.
Yeah.
Always been a boss. Okay, talk your talk. I feel like one of the first times I've heard your name, it was through like the nonprofit Seed Charlotte, where you hire
Yep.
interns. And so I
Yep.
thought that was amazing too. Like, do you have interns in your practice now?
I do.
Okay, like how do you find interns like to help you or to even cultivate? Because I feel like even now interns is foreign. Like when I was going through school, you better internship. You're not even getting paid.
Right.
You know, it's just for the
Yeah.
experience. So like, how do you find your mentor? I mean, sorry, how do you find interns? Because you're really the mentor.
Right.
And then like, how do you cultivate them to be attorneys or judges or just like be helpful along their career and their journey?
So most of the time they find me.
Okay.
Like they may reach out.
Nice.
Or a friend or somebody says something and they reach out. Or if I may put out a hootie hoo on social media. But it's those are all of those have been, at least in the last few years, have been organic.
Okay.
Somebody I worked with had a son who was
Oh,
interested.
nice.
Or somebody said, hey, this might be a good fit, and then because of their experience they may recommend somebody else. Most recently, the person who's going to be coming on board found me, typically through social media. I am very proud that we call it a lawyer puppy meal. So
Okay.
I've gotten somebody they've all been in college at the time going to
Nice.
law school. I haven't had a law school intern in a long time. Just after Charlotte School of Law, it's harder to find somebody unless they're here in Charlotte. Now the Elon's here.
It used to be actually in this space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Charlotte School of Law. Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
And they had accreditation issues
Yeah.
and folded. But my most recent interns they both got in the top tier law schools. One's getting ready to graduate now.
That's
In
awesome.
May I'm super proud of him. One
Yes.
is getting ready to be a 3L and a third year, so he'll be here this summer interning at the public defender's office.
Okay.
It's like, oh.
That's so awesome.
And then others have been either in some sort of legal field or
Okay.
something. So, but I'm very proud of them because they all come in the same way. They all have this certain idea of what the system looks like. Then they see what it really is. And even some of the things that might seem labor intensive for them, they end up learning like this is how you learn how to think critically. This is how you issue spot. These are the things that are going to be critical for you to do well on the LSAT and then ultimately do well in law school. So
Yeah, and you have a wide range background where you could just help them out and, like you said, just give them the real. Because I feel like a lot of times in careers, like people just try to sugarcoat things,
Yes.
and you get in there and you like, well, dang, why didn't you tell me?
Right.
I might have went another way.
right, especially
You know?
in this field.
Yes. Wow, that's so awesome. So, okay, let's go back a little bit. What college did you attend and law school did you attend?
So I went to UNC Charlotte
Okay.
undergrad.
Nice.
49ers.
Okay.
And then I went to University of Pittsburgh for law school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I thought that I was going to end up in the Northeast. I had aspirations to be a corporate litigator and learn real quick. This is the early 2000s. I was definitely rowdier back then. So I just wasn't the black woman that they were looking for.
Yeah.
I knew that the first summer. Like, I played the part, but imagine, and I say that, for example, you couldn't have worn your hair like that and gone and worked a summer at anybody's law firm back there. I couldn't have worn braids.
Wow.
Absolutely not. Crochet this? Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because the perception of what you had to look like on the surface, doesn't matter how smart you are
Right.
or how well you can navigate. It's how you look
Mm-hmm.
to make the corporate world feel comfortable
Right.
with you. So I knew very quickly that that wasn't going to be the move.
Okay.
But I again another big leap. The day it was due, I postmarked my application to take the North Carolina bar because I was like,
Wow.
I don't really know where I want to go.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go back to North Carolina. I had
Wow.
to study for the bar by myself
Mm.
because there was nobody in Pittsburgh taking it. So I had to
Right.
self study and all that. Thank God I passed it the first time. Thank you, Jesus,
Yes.
because I
Talk
would
your
never
talk.
take it again. And then I ended up at the public defender's office because the attorneys who coached my mock trial team when I was a high school teacher, two of them were still there. One was still there, actually. One had gone into private practice. I didn't even want to be a public defender.
Wow.
Like, I had no interest in criminal defense, even though I grew up watching Perry Mason and
Right.
Matlock. That just wasn't my thing. But one of my students became the teacher. Like, one of my students was like, and this is MySpace. This is how long
Right.
ago it was. Let's
Girl,
be
my
clear.
space was long.
Was like, hey, I did an internship at the public defender's office. Maybe you should apply there. I'll apply there, but I think I want to be a prosecutor. Girl, I just can't believe I said that out my mouth. And I said I wanted to be a prosecutor, so I applied at the DA's office. Child, they didn't even give me an interview.
Okay.
My feelings
Wow.
were hurt. Like,
Like,
what?
Do you know who I am?
Child, no, it wasn't that because I couldn't have said any of that at the time because it wasn't even like that. I didn't have the skill set.
Okay.
But I get in at the public defender's office. There's 5 of us, and the training was, and I'm sure it still is because I could see it from the bench, like how much better trained the public defenders are than the DA's office.
Really?
Still. But the training was amazing. But my first day with my first cases, and I had to try a case on the fly, and it was, oh my God, that's it. This is it. And I've never done it. I've always done criminal defense.
Okay.
I've always done appointed cases, even when I don't have to,
Yeah.
because the work, those are my most interesting cases
Okay.
because of how they over police.
Yeah.
But those are also the cases that I know I'm not going to get paid a ton of money, but those are the ones that I get the most joy out of getting a good result for.
I
Yeah.
love that. And it's more so, like you said, fulfillment.
Yeah.
Once you've been through all of the BS and whatever, you got to really, if you're still working, it has to fulfill you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sometimes the
Absolutely.
money, you'd be like, okay, well, I'm more fulfilled doing this
Right.
opposed to a couple extra dollars. Like, it's okay.
Absolutely.
Like, keep y'all coins if y'all gonna be like this. I understand that part of it. I love it. So when did you pledge undergrad?
Here. Oh, no, I pledged here, Charlotte Alumni, 2018.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay, so go
81
ahead, shout
forces
out.
81 Forces of Resilience, yes. Ooh, whoop to my sorors and Milan sisters, yes. Yes.
Period. Okay, so yes, ma'am, Delta. Now, it's a lot going on with sororities and fraternities,
We
like
get this
right
every year.
now. And I don't
Yes,
know, why does it come out?
This is spring intake season.
Okay.
Every year. But I think this year is different. I want to pause, put a pin there for a second.
Okay.
Every year in the spring, there's always somebody renouncing. Videos start circulating, regardless of whatever, for whatever member of the Divine Nine it is. It happens every year,
Okay.
like clockwork. I haven't seen the one that's circulating around, and I'm not going to because your experience is not my experience.
Right.
Right? If you made those choices, then you made those choices. But I just think the dichotomy, especially of making certain accusations that just aren't rooted in the truth. And I'm not going to speak on it.
Right.
I will never speak on it.
Okay.
But some of the things that have been said are just, okay, whatever it is that you need to do to get clicks or rage bait. That said, it happens every year. I think, my mother was a Delta. My
Really?
daddy was an
Okay.
Omega man. So it's that Coleman
Period.
love is
Shout out to the
genetic
Omega
for me.
man.
So I grew up seeing the fight, the involvement, all of that. My dad knew Dr. King. He preached at his church. He was one of King's disciples or young ministers that were being trained through nonviolent resistance during the civil rights movement. Like that, those are the things that are important.
Right.
And that's something you'll never take away from a 20-minute or whatever YouTube video.
Yeah.
I mean, you believe what you want.
Yeah, that's
but the
true.
words, the deeds, and the actions, and for us, the sisterhood, the scholarship, the service, and the social action, speak volumes, and you'll never take that away from
Period.
any sorority or fraternity, but especially Delta Sigma Theta
Okay.
Sorority Incorporated. Let's be clear. They
She
don't.
said what she said.
I said what I said. Yep.
No, I love it. Like you said, like the deeds is what you're doing. Like, what are you doing in the community? Like, once I feel like once you get to a certain point, because I haven't watched the video either, but I do see like the comments, like of others. But at the same time, in your life in general, outside of the sorority and fraternities,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're doing the deeds match up
Right.
to what you're supposed to be doing. So I
Absolutely.
love that.
Absolutely.
Period. Okay, Deltas. So yeah, I didn't pledge. So
Never
but
too
I love
late.
y'all parties.
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like you're wearing red for a reason. Never too late. Anyway.
Yeah, you're
Anyway.
right. Well, okay. I got a question.
Okay.
Is it respected if you pledge after undergrad? Because I feel like that's always one of the talks. Like if you didn't go through it through
Oh God.
undergrad, then if you try to pledge with the grad chapter or even later on in life, it's not really respected. Is that a thing?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Um, it's a thing to people who don't understand the process.
Okay.
I think it's a thing to people who don't understand. Well, what if your undergraduate school didn't have a chapter?
Oh yeah, that's true. I never thought about that.
Or, what if there were circumstances that didn't allow you to be able to pledge?
Okay.
I would say for me personally, it means more to me pledging as an adult than it would. I think than it would have as a 19-year-old, 18,
Okay.
19, maybe 20-year-old, because I think the service and the bond, I just think is different when you've
Okay.
had so much life experience, but you're making this conscious decision to take this next step. For me, I think it's more meaningful at this stage, because the last line prior to that, I didn't have the community service for it, and that was around I would have, but it was around the time that my dad and my mom passed. So
Okay.
there was no. I knew I wasn't going to qualify,
Right.
but but when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
And I think people miss that. You have to have a college degree. You have to have community service. These are things that you can't just know somebody to get in.
Right.
And I think though people who turn their nose up or poo-poo on the idea of fraternities and sororities, that's certainly your prerogative. But these are the things that are required, and these are the things that if you don't have it, you don't have it. It's not going to stop the organization from doing the wonderful things that it's going to do in this community, regardless of whether or not you co-sign or you support it or not. I mean, there's no organization that exists in a monolith. Of course, there's going to be people who make mistakes or don't follow the rules or do
Right.
things that are contrary, and they are handled internally within that organization. But there's no difference. There's no difference.
I feel like relationships are very important overall. Business, like you said, like your organizations that you're involved in. Like, can you just tell us a time where maybe like your sorority or maybe even like a relationship from your business have helped you propel forward?
Ooh, so many. I would say early on. Oh, wow. So I would say early on, even when I left the public defender's office, for example, so much support
Okay.
for me spreading my wings. I think going in the relationships that I had built before I ran for judge were astronomical,
Okay.
because we ran an Obama-style grassroots campaign because we knew we were going to be outspent 3-1. I knew that I was never going to raise as much money as my opponent. But I also knew, especially with my campaign manager now, Bestie, that yard signs don't vote, any of that. None of that matters. The billboards don't matter. You have to be able to touch the people, and that's where relationships come in. Who's going to be your proxy when you can't go knock on that door? Do you train people who believe in you
Right.
because of the relationships that you've built with them to go knock on the doors, to go do the mailers and all of that? That was extremely amplified during that run, because I always I loved campaigning.
Yeah.
Like, some people hate it. I loved it.
Wow.
And that was tiresome, and I don't know where I got the energy. I had like a car full of those little drink boxes.
Yes.
I'm drinking the little whatever. I still have them now, like car full of them.
Yes.
But I loved campaigning.
Okay.
I loved dealing with people. I loved because I could be extra at
Right.
the parade. but I can make that personal contact, and we might have. I probably did twice as many fundraisers, but I knew I may do a fundraiser and it's UNCC students, and say only 15 people show up. I may not even raise $200, but I bet you I'm gonna get 10 volunteers.
Right.
I bet if we train them right, they're gonna knock on those doors.
Yeah.
They're gonna drop lit. They're gonna be a poll worker on election day.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I realize, that people power and those relationships matter more than the surface level things that can be bought and sold. Can't buy and sell relationships. Those have to, the real ones,
Yeah.
are organic, professionally and especially personally, because that's when you really, I think, get to see the nature of the importance of the relationship, especially if you go through something like traumatic or whatever.
Yeah.
And the ones that show up and the ones that don't,
Yeah.
the relationships you can salvage and the relationships that'll never be the same. Yeah.
I love that. So let's speak to mentorship.
Okay.
Do you have any mentors, and how did that come about?
So it depends on where I was. So yes, there's always
Okay.
been someone that I've looked up to, or that here's who I call if
Yeah.
I just don't know the answer.
Right.
So professionally, yes, there's lawyers, for
Okay.
example, that I'm gonna call.
Okay.
It may be, let me bounce this off of you professionally, or we may even see each other in the hall and we just gotta commiserate on what just happened in court or
Right.
whatever. I think it's different personally.
Okay.
Just because of the nature of what I do, and the nonprofit space. Not so much in the nonprofit space, because I felt like I got it. The mentors I had then, I kind of got a handle on it once. We had the board and all of that. But personally, I mean, that's gonna be those are gonna be your closest friends, your besties. Those I think besties are mentors. Well, they are, of course they are.
Yeah.
'Cause those are the ones that gonna call you on your shit.
That's a
They gonna
fact.
send the right mean at the right time, girl. Or yes, this
Okay.
is that type of thing. So yeah.
I love that. I mean, I feel like mentorship is essential. And I feel like when I first entered into business, it was so difficult for me to find a mentor.
Really.
I took so many like classes and cohorts, and they just pair you with somebody that's within the Charlotte community, but they may have raised their hand and say, "Hey, I want to work with her," but it was not organic.
Right.
And so it would be like kind of like a push and pull. And it's like, okay, or I would like, let's go to lunch, and then you get with them and they not who they say they are, and I'm like, I'm good.
Right. Right.
So it's been difficult. So I've just been putting myself in spaces and places to find that community of women to
Right.
really hold my hand, pray for me when I need it, opposed to being mean girls.
Yeah.
So I've been going to I attend Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and so I joined the women's group. So I'm like, okay, maybe this may be a space that I can grow in, and with God, maybe that's what I was missing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I love that. All right. So, last but not least, can you just tell us any word of advice that you can give, maybe that you received in your life, maybe from your mother and father, that you can maybe share that has helped you along the way?
Oh, that's a good one. So, what used to be, and I probably need to put this back on my mirror. So, I started this in law school when I was about to take the bar.
Okay.
Acronym FAITH.
Okay.
Got it from a Yolanda Van Zant, and it's feel as if, FAI, T is the thing has happened. And I kept that on my mirror, and usually what it was that I was seeking would be like up under that, like in a dry erase marker, and then I would put like whatever my goals were. Admittedly, I've gotten away from that, and I know I need to get back into that. And I think part of it is I just felt like I was just still trying to find myself from 2023 and all of that. That said, that's been professionally, right?
Okay.
So it started off with passing the bar, then going out on my own, or when I decided to run for judge, but below that was election day, the election day date. When I left, or then it was I Speak.
Okay.
So it would be that acronym and then whatever it is that my faith and my focus needs to be focused on.
Okay.
But then I think it shifted in 23 because professionally I'm in this space, but physically I'm fighting for my life. So
Mm.
now faith is feel as if the thing has happened. Now it's mind body connection
Right.
to still stay on this planet.
Yeah.
When God showed me that day how protected I was that
Mm.
day in a way that I got to write the book, but I mean, how protected I was that day. But the faith was also different because the things that I thought I was going to suffer with, I thought I was going to have PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
depression, anxiety, because it's like, girl, that you had your whole liver exploded. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Do you want to
You
share
know,
what happened?
I will.
Okay.
Because I
Yes.
think it's important. I think it's so important for women. It's so important when we're talking about reproductive health and the things that we don't know and the things that we're not taught.
That's true.
Um,
That's so true.
but the faith then was feel as if the thing has happened so that I can now go back to work and and be back to my normal self. But that normalcy was disrupted, not just for the whole being in the hospital fighting for my life, literally,
Mm.
but also navigating relationships,
Mm.
navigating. But so and so didn't, your family. Why haven't you shown up for me when I'm
Right.
asking for you?
No,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
good.
Because everybody knew, like, I was very public in terms of here's what's happened,
Okay.
sharing my journey, um, sharing, when I'm getting ready to go to surgery, the blessings, the joy,
Yeah.
um, the lessons I was hoping women would see.
Mm.
So, this doesn't happen to them. So, I'm going to try to make this really short. So, June 5th, 2023, I'm going from my house to Stanley County for court,
Okay.
like I always do. Um, I am getting ready. That day, I'm feeling cute. I want to drive my little two-seater. I'm going to put the top down, and I'm going to give these people in Stanley County the what for. They're going to see this black woman in this convertible, and she going to get out, and they're going to be like, who is that? I'm going to give it to them. But the car wouldn't start. It was sluggish.
Mm.
It was sluggish. The car wouldn't start. The car wouldn't start. I was like, oh, okay, I got to go. So I jump in my other car, which is my SUV. That was miracle number one.
Mm.
So I'm driving, go to Stanley County. First time I'd ever been there. Of course, it's always the same. Are you a lawyer? Well, yeah. I said, I'm trying to be all, yes, I am. We
Polite.
hadn't seen you before. Where'd you come from? And I tell them I'm from Charlotte. Oh, the great state of Mecklenburg County. La, 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 la. But it's like a whole party with security because there's
Right.
like, and then one of the security guards is a woman. She's about to lose her mind. Oh, this is the best because they don't see that
Us.
representation there.
Yes.
Anyway, I go handle my business. I leave. I got sidetracked.
Mm.
I got a call. I pulled over to take a call. That was probably miracle number two because I don't know my way. I put my GPS. It takes me a different route that I didn't come,
Okay.
but I'm just following the route. I'm driving along. There's grass on one side, cows on the other. I'm in the
Mm.
country. And I'm driving along, and I'll never forget it. I'm just driving normally, and I hear this sound, and it's like a pew. And I can hear it, like audibly hear it.
Right.
And suddenly all this pain starts shooting into my left shoulder.
Mm.
Just like, what the fuck? Like, can I cut? Too
Yeah,
late,
go
I already
ahead.
did. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, what? And because it's like, and then I'm doing all this belching,
Yeah.
right? I'm just I'm burping this pain. And I'm like, okay, this ain't regular gas. What is going on?
Right.
I'm looking at the GPS. I've got 30 some odd minutes before I get to Charlotte.
Right.
I have no idea where I am.
Mm.
I can still drive. I can still think. I can still do all those things. But the pain, like at first I thought I was having a stroke.
Right.
And that's my first thought. I said, oh my God, am I having a stroke? What do I call 911? And some said, no, wait a minute. So I pause. I'm still driving. And I know enough, thankfully for my mom, like, okay, this isn't a stroke, but what is going on?
Right.
This pain. And it's pain, but it's like manageable. I can still drive. I can still do this,
Yeah.
right? So I'm driving in the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's figure this out. What if something happens? Okay, let me at least try to get my bearings. I have no bearings. I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
So miracle number 3, I keep going. Something said, like, spirit is like, keep driving. You're okay. I'm like, I'm not okay, but I don't know if it's appendix because,
Right.
again, like, the pain is here, But now now my arm is starting to feel a little heavy, but I still have enough presence of mind to know that it's not a stroke.
Okay.
So I'm not freaking out. Like
Yeah.
I am, but not really. I was just like, let me just get somewhere. Because my dumb ass is like, well, I'll just get back to the office. This hurts, but I'm okay. Like,
It's that strong
whatever.
woman.
But, and then it
Yes,
even
you
dawned
did.
on me, like,
Yes,
Heifer, did you
girl.
not hear that sound? Like, but I
The
feel like
nearest.
I'm not in shock.
Yeah.
I'm not about to pass out. I'm burping a lot. I don't understand that, but maybe it's like some freakish gas.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Wow.
So anyway, I get into what appears to be a town. I look around and I saw what I thought was an atrium sign to my right.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, maybe that's an urgent care. So I go to make a U-E because there's 2 lanes on each side. I go to make a U-E, and I'm in the little shoulder before I make the turn, and I go to my phone and I think I'm typing nearest urgent care to make sure that that's what it is.
Right.
And I look down at my phone. Everything I thought was typing was all gibberish, like F F F R R R G G G, and I'm like,
Right.
what the? And the last thing I remember, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna throw. And then I don't remember anything after that. So apparently, I pass. I think I'm making the turn. I guess because somehow, but for the grace of God, I am able. Somehow, I'm operating this vehicle. I have made the turn. I am going in the opposite direction, and I come to. I just remember coming to, and I remember how did I see the car is rolling slowly.
Right.
Like I know I'm like on the side. I know enough to know that, okay, I think I'm on the side of the road, but it feels like I'm underwater. I can barely see. I can barely hear. I literally feel like I'm underwater. And I look to the right and I see this green. I know there's grass. Like I know the cars. And I said, well, there's grass. Okay, that car I could just hit the button on the side
Right.
and just put it in park. So I did that, and I look up and there's a sign, maybe probably from where your chair is. Those big signs that say welcome to something.
Yes.
I'm like, I was within 2 seconds of running head on into that sign.
Wow.
Right, that's miracle probably number 5 or 6. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I can barely see and hear, and I look down and I got vomit all down my dress.
Oh my God.
And it's straight down my dress. So
Right.
I was like, so my head was apparently like that the whole time. So it's vomit all down my dress into the floor. I'm conscious enough. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening? So I call my my old paralegal at the time before she moved. I said, look, Lanice, I don't know what happened. I'm on the side of the road. There's vomit all over me, but I think I'm going to make it back. What are you talking about? I said, I don't know. I had this pain, but my arm isn't really hurting. It's sore. It's not really hurting.
Okay.
I'm like, well, whatever it is, I threw it up, but I'm going to figure it out. And I'm like going through the console. So hard-headed. I'm going through the console trying to find something to like wipe it off of me.
So you can,
All of that. And I look, I'm like, I think I soiled myself. I don't know what's going on, but I can't stay here. I'm going to try to go back.
You still trying to drive, girl.
She is going. It's funny now, but she going off on me. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Call 911. Drop a pin right now. And I'm trying to do that, but my vision's so blurry. Now I'm freaking out.
Okay.
So I drop a pin. I said, okay, I'm going to call 911. So I call 911. She's like, where are you? I'm like, y'all supposed to know where I am.
Facts.
She's like, ma'am, that's not how it works. So I'm annoyed. I was like, ma'am. And then I really start to freak out. I was like, oh my God. I said, lady, there's a sign in front of me. Well, what's it say? And I start to freak out. I said, I can't read it. Like, I can't, as big as those letters were, I couldn't make them out to figure out what it said. I said, I'm looking to my left and I see color. Like, I know I'm on the side of the road, but I can't see what any of those buildings say. I can't read any of that. I said, okay, I think I see yellow. Maybe that's a McDonald's. That kind of looks like a McDonald's sign, but I'm not sure. And I think I see blue, maybe a Sam's Club. Like that, literally, that's all I could make out was colors. And shape, like enough of a shape. And she was like, okay, I think we know where you are. In fact, I think somebody's already called. Somebody will be there. And so now I am panicking because like now I've realized I'm just drenched in sweat. Like I wasn't aware I'm just drenched in sweat. So I told her, please don't hang up. I'm really scared now. Like, please don't hang up. So I don't even think it took 5 minutes from there for the police to come. So somebody obviously saw all of this and called. So the police arrived or the paramedics arrived. They bust open the door. I'm more embarrassed like of how I look,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They
You
prick
need to
my
be getting
finger,
healthy. You're
right? I'm
like,
like, what is going
yeah.
on? Like they prick my finger, and he yells out, "It's 304. Are you a diabetic?" I was like, "What do you mean my blood sugar's 304? I should have been in a coma. I should have
Right.
been in a hyperglycemic coma." I don't like to say the word shoulda, but the
That's
numbers
the
would have put
numbers.
me
Yeah.
in a coma. Now I'm really
But
freaking
God.
out. But God. So
Yes.
like I'm crying. I was like, no, I'm not. Please don't give me insulin.
Mm.
I don't want to crash because my dad was a diabetic. I was like, don't do insulin. I don't want to crash. Anyway,
Okay.
they pull me out. I hear in the distance, and I guess an officer saying, well, that must be the mailbox she hit. And I'm like, mailbox. And now I'm panicking. They put me in. I'm so drenched in sweat. They can't even get the leads on me. They keep having to wipe me
Wow.
down because the leads are just sliding off of me,
Mm.
because I'm just drenched in sweat. So they finally get the leads. My vitals are stable. At one point, they're talking. I don't know what's going on, but I tell the paramedic, they call in the cavalry, he calls everybody. And then he leaves, and I remember distinctly laying there by myself. And I specifically said, and I was looking up, I was like, Mom, Dad, I really wish you were here.
Mm.
And then I started to feel chills, right? Like the hair on my arm standing up. And then I paused. And I said, okay, I know you're here,
Right.
but I don't want to die today.
Mm.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
But in that moment, my vision started to clear. I felt peace. Like my hands were like this. My hands started to calm down. And I was like, I couldn't hear them say it, but I felt it. Like I almost felt like they were in the ambulance.
Yeah.
So the paramedic comes in at one point. He's called everybody. I think Annetta or somebody was on speaker. I'm just sore. We don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Appendix, maybe. I don't know. He was like, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Mint Hill? You want to go to Stanley? This is probably miracle number 7 or 8. I was like, I don't know. Which one's closer? He was like, Stanley's closer, but I live in Stanley.
Don't go there.
Go to Mint Hill.
I love
like,
when people be honest about
I was
medical care. Yeah, tell
I
me
was
where
like,
I'm gonna get.
He was like, okay, we're going to
Yes.
Mint Hill. And he's like, before we leave, he's like, can I pray with you? Absolutely. And
Thank you,
he
God.
prayed with me, or he prayed for me, because
Yes.
I just wasn't in a mind space. I remember he made me cry. And this was like I wish I couldn't find him, but he was a plump, chubby, white guy, bald and with glasses. I'll never forget him.
Mm.
But I felt like in hindsight, he proxied
Yeah.
for them. So we end up going to Mint Hill. Now my normal self, I'm talking shit. Get me, and the lady like takes my dress off. She's like, "You want this dress? Do you see all that vomit? No, ma'am,
No, I
burn
don't want
it. You want the shoes? Now I might want the shoes though. I might want the shoes. Rinse them off."
I get a new dress,
So
girl.
you
Give
don't
me
want that
well.
dress? And she was like, "Yeah, because you saw just girl. You don't give me that poopy dress, that poopy vomit dress. Get up out of here." So,
Give me a clean gown.
girl. So I'm laying there. I'm talking smack. Get me out of this bed. They're pumping me full of IV. Like they keep putting me on the bedpan so I can pee. Now I'm annoyed. Just let me go sit on the regular people toilet. Because now everybody's there. And everybody thinks, well, this can't be that serious. Like, I'm talking like I'm talking to you.
Right.
Like, I'm talking shit. Like, I'm regular Yolanda. They give me, I said, I insist on peeing in the fake toilet over here. Let me go pee like a regular person.
Right.
And I sit on it. Thank God my sister is sitting in front of me. And I'm still talking. So I said, now you got this gown. Y'all going to see my hoo-ha and all this other stuff. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, thank God. And I remember I started to say, I said, oh, God, I think I'm going. Apparently, I passed out, like, hard cold. Like, if my sister wasn't in front of me, I would have, like, ended up on the floor.
Wow.
She catches me. I don't remember any of that. Only thing I remember saying, oh, my God, I think I'm going something. And I wake up in the bed. Bessie got tears in her eyes. There's 3 doctors in there. Everybody's standing around. I'm like, well, what happened?
Right. You just waking up
like, what is going on? It's like, you don't remember what happened? So apparently I had some sort of vagal, like that vagal nerve, vagus nerve. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Passed out, hard cold, like unconscious for however long it was. They do the MRI. Oh, they don't do an MRI. They do a CT because it's a smaller hospital. They don't have an MRI. They come back. It's funny now. It wasn't funny. And they was like, yeah, you didn't have a heart attack, stroke, any of that, because I was still on birth control.
Okay.
I thought, and I was like, great. And it's like, yeah, but we see this bleed around your liver. So what you mean it's bleed around your liver? It's like, yeah, we're not sure what's going on, but there's definitely a liver bleed. So meanwhile, nobody said anything about a tumor. It was just
Right.
a liver bleed. So I'm like, okay, first of all, I know I ain't had that much to drink and smoke now, and I'm busted open.
Facts. Like, dang. Like, what
Like what in
happened?
the world? But again, like I'm
You don't.
sore,
Right.
but I'm conscious.
Yeah.
All the things, and I didn't understand how big of a deal that was until later. So anyway, they sent me to Concord. That was the biggest blessing because of who my surgeon ended up being. So I get to Concord. I'm still talking smack. I have that passing out situation happen again as I just walk to the bathroom. I come
Wow.
back and sit down. Boom, I'm out again. Now I can't get out of bed at all. They're like, you're not allowed to get out of bed.
Dang.
They do an MRI. Now I'm in some real pain, but I'm still conscious.
Right.
Doc comes back. Hey, you have this adenoma. What's that? It's a tumor. Tumor? It's like, yeah, you have this tumor. I am confident that it's benign. It's probably caused by your birth control. I said, say what?
Wow.
And he was like, you're going to have to get off of birth control. I said, Doc, say less. I literally had this conversation with myself the day before,
Wow.
which is crazy. So backtrack for a second. So the day before, I had just, so I don't know if you ever been to the Alpha Luau.
Yes.
So the Alpha Luau was on that Saturday. I always do the hula hoop contest. For some reason, I think that was divine.
Yes.
I didn't do the hula hoop contest because I was in the back running my mouth. By the time I got up there, they started. It was like, come on, y'all. I was like, nah, I'm going to sit this one out. They were weighted hula hoops, which I found out later. Had I done it then, it would have exploded then.
Wow.
Right there at the
party.
luau. So anyway, the next day, I get up, and I promise you, it's a new pack of birth control pills. I look at it, and I said out loud, you know what, yo? It's time for you to get off these things. You've been on them too long. Now, of course, I took it because I ain't trying to get pregnant, right? I took it anyway. Went on about my day, hung out, got the last thing I did that night, I was laying in the bed, and I started Googling how long is too long to be on the pill. That's my last search. Within 12 hours, all this stuff has happened.
Wow.
So when he says that, and I'm like, child, I explained it to him. He's like, yeah. So he explains it to me. It's this adenoma. It's driven by birth control, by oral birth control, it's either caused by steroids or birth control. And as those hormones go through your body, it could be a genetic trigger, but it creates these little tumors. Some of them are small, some of them grow. This one, at the time, I didn't understand how big it was. Like, he's showing it to me. I don't really get it, but they're saying, okay, first thing we got to do is stop the bleeding. They do the whole something embolism. They go through your femoral artery. I vaguely remember waking up because it's propofol, I think, and I just remember seeing like a screen. I hear music because when they take you down there, that whole crew, they just enjoy their job. There's music, they kicking it. I'm like, well, what y'all getting ready?
Okay,
We getting ready to
like
operate. I'm like, okay, keep that same energy. Like, do what y'all need to do.
I love when people love their
I'm
job.
like,
Okay.
God, they love
Make
that
you feel
job.
comfortable,
But
yes.
apparently when they went in to solder they expected it would be still all this internal bleeding. It had already stopped bleeding on its own. Girl.
That was
So,
God. You got angels in heaven
Girl.
watching for you.
So they tell me, okay, we got two options. We can operate now, but it's going to be a cut from sternum down. It has to be a complete open surgery
Wow.
because we have to get to it. And
Right.
we can't just cut here. We got to cut down. And I'm like, I don't want that. What's my option? It was like, well, we can wait since the bleeding has stopped, see if it gets small enough so that we can get it out laparoscopically. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm in there 5 days, horrific pain. Just, oh God, now I'm really like in a lot of pain. But anyway, I go home. My two prayer warriors, they know who they are. One of them's Travis, would come. That's my little brother, and he would pray, and we at this point, because I am dramatic, I have to name something to get it to go away. So we called it Thanos, right? We got to vanquish Thanos, right? So the prayer is we got to get Thanos up out of here. I was praying for shrinkage, right? Because what was explained to me was that it's big. And he's saying this, and like, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. I'm looking at myself every day in the mirror. How do I not see this giant tumor? Like, why do I not see a bulge? It's like, how is this possible? He was like, there would have been, and I'm blaming myself. Like, how could I not know? He was like, first of all, it's benign. It's not going to show up in your blood work. Second, your liver is growing around, it's accommodating it.
Mm.
So it's just taking space away from your liver, but it's not affecting your liver function.
Right.
So when it exploded, I didn't understand it then. So when it exploded, my whole left side of that liver exploded.
Wow.
So it was like boom, boom.
Right.
So I didn't understand that at the time, but then I understood. I'm glad I didn't understand it because I don't think I would have healed the way that I healed.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I had this tumor that needed to shrink. I didn't realize I'm sitting at home for 3 weeks with a whole busted open liver.
Right.
It just didn't register.
Yeah.
It just didn't register. And so, I'm home for 3 weeks. We're praying. I'm living in my downstairs. I can walk the distance of this room, basically. And I stayed on my patio. Fevers, chills of this cycle of fever, sweat it out, chill. But I can't stay in the house because it's summertime. I don't want to get sick. So this goes on for 3 weeks. I said it was gonna be short, but it's this is probably the most crucial part because then at one point my dumb ass is still trying to work.
Mm.
My dumb ass
Like
is
go to the courthouse?
no, not go to the courthouse. I'm
Oh.
not that stupid. I'm working from home.
Okay.
But I'm dealing with DAs, for example, are still trying to call cases for trial, and
Oh.
I'm at home
Yeah.
with a whole busted open liver, and I got to jump on a WebEx and explain to this judge, sir, I'm sitting here with an exploded liver.
Okay.
Like, what do you mean that I got to
Right.
ask to continue the case? Like, y'all ain't gonna do that on your own?
Fact.
So, like, hey, it's true story. Like, I
Wow.
went through that for months. It was crazy. But anywho, so the one day my dumb ass said I'm going to the office because I was having cabin fever at this point. I get in the car, I drive, I'm feeling good because I'm not anxious, I'm not freaking out being behind the wheel. I get into the office, I park right in front of the office. It took me 10 minutes to walk. And my car is like right there, like 10 feet. It took me 10 minutes to get from my car to my office because I just couldn't walk that
Wow.
fast. But I'm sitting there typing at the computer.
You a go-getter,
I'm all
okay?
excited because I'm in the office. I'm doing stuff for real. I'm not like doing stuff at the dining room table like I'm doing stuff. And I remember telling my paralegal, send an email to so and so, but CC me. But I realized I spelled out CC. I was spelling out SEESEE instead of CC.
Right.
And I immediately was like, I think something's going on with me cognitively.
Mm.
And so I called that day, like immediately called. They were like, come in tomorrow. I didn't feel any different, but that scared me.
Right.
Because I'm thinking I'm doing one thing and
you're not,
cognitively I'm not there. So they do the MRI the next day. They come in. I was like, okay, come in the next day. Doc comes in, me, Bessie there, and we're like, okay, what's the word? He was like, well, we've got some shrinkage, but not enough. Here's what we're going to do. He was like, we're going to put this drain in you. We're gonna do a slit. We're gonna put a drain in, and we're gonna drain it out. And it's probably another couple weeks. You're gonna have this thing that you're gonna have to change. I immediately start crying. I can't do that. I'm crying my eyes out. Netta's no help. She crying. We just crying. I was like, I can't. I can't. And this is how good God is. Hear me when I say, he was literally reading it as he was coming in. He said, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. He's reading it some more. He goes and gets his partner. I'm still boohoo crying. Like,
Right.
I cannot go through no drain.
Right.
And now I got to get a nurse and they got to change it. And ew,
Yeah.
I can't. Just get it out of me. Just. So they're talking and they're like, what? Yeah, all of that. As it turns out, it shrunk, but the inside of it had been completely liquefied. So what they thought initially was still the mass, oh no, that was all liquid.
Wow.
The inside of that, the skin of it, if you will, was still there, but everything inside of it was liquefied. Where they could see at the top where my liver had exploded was a lot of infected tissue, but they were just blown away. They never expected to see that. So they were like, no, we actually can do it laparoscopically. We're going to go in, put a bag around it, pull it out. Now, we expected to take an hour and a half, but we can do it this way. Bet. And he was one of the few surgeons, miracle number whatever, that could do it robotically. So he ordered the robotic pieces of it so that he wouldn't have to, manually do it. Because, it's still robotic anyway. Next day, we're teeing it up. Because I'm dramatic, now everybody's got a name. He's Iron Man. Netta's Captain Marvel. I bought them figurines. I'm serious about it. When I get dramatic about something, I'm man, everybody, like my therapist was Doctor Strange. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And this same surgeon had that figurine. When I explained it to him, the figurine was in the operating room, and he had them take a picture of it with it. I didn't know any of that until after the fact. So the surgery was supposed to be an hour and a half. It took 4.5 hours
Wow.
because the tumor, when it exploded, it was just laying there. I'm sorry, it was just laying there, but it had leaned to the side. So part of it was attached to my stomach, my diaphragm, and my intestines.
Wow.
And so you can't just peel it off. But imagine if you put like tape on construction paper, but you got to peel it off the construction paper without damaging the construction paper.
Right. Wow.
So the only way that he could do that was robotically, and he was one of the few people that could do that. So it was like, because it wasn't that bad from the diaphragm and the stomach, which now explains why I was having so much. I was so tired all the time,
Yeah.
like simplest things. But the intestines was the thing that was an issue, because your intestines is only a cell width apart. So you do it wrong. You can't do that with a traditional scalpel, because you're gonna
Right.
mess around and rupture the intestines, and now we got a whole nother
Yeah.
set of
And it's
issues.
yeah.
So he does that, all that surgery successful, in the hospital a few days. I didn't realize, and when I went back for follow-up MRIs, there were a couple of little ones in there. But I had to get through the trauma of understanding it wasn't my fault.
Right.
I struggled with that.
Really?
I did, because it's like, how will you not, like, you? Pride myself on knowing my body,
Right.
right? How do you not know that this thing was? And as it turns out, at first I was telling everybody it was baseball size. No, it was grapefruit size.
Wow.
It had shrunk the baseball,
Yeah.
but it was grapefruit size initially, and I realized that when I went back for another follow-up. And I said, no, show me the original one. He's like, no, it was way bigger than that.
Wow.
And but the thing I had to realize, and he helped me realize, like, they see this particular situation more and more frequently. And that thing could have been growing for 3 years. It could have been growing for
Right.
6 months. There's no
You don't
way of
know.
knowing that. And they said specifically, and I really want women to know this, that while it's known, it's not known to be a problem as it could have been. And most women who find out about it because they're trying to get pregnant.
Wow.
And they see it in an ultrasound or
Okay.
something like that. Then they see it. I had never had a reason to have an ultrasound or a
Right.
CT scan or any of that. And it doesn't show up in blood work because it's not messing your liver up. It's just a big, giant, benign tumor. So I had to struggle with that. I had to struggle with, relationships, but it also taught me the power of mind, body, soul connection. Not just praying to God, but,
Right.
telling yourself the
Right.
mind, body, soul connection that you are going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Not I hope I'm going to be. No, I'm
Right.
going to be okay.
Speaking it.
This thing is going to
Yes.
shrink. These things are going to be true. The people who are going to show up are the ones that are my tribe. All of those things, because I'm convinced that's the way I was able to heal
Yeah.
the way I was. But then the issue was, now I'm seeing this remnant. So now then I have to get out of my head and get okay with my warrior wounds. That's what
Yeah.
I call them. But, because I'm a bikini girl. It's like, oh, now I
Period.
got these cuts and, and then you meet a guy and I
Baby,
got to
you
explain it.
fine. You
You're
said
like,
50
girl,
what?
but imagine you meet
Yeah.
a guy and now you got to explain this all over
Yeah.
again, because
Yeah.
well, you got to explain it, and just all of that. But I really want women to know that be vigilant about your health, be vigilant about your reproductive health, be vigilant about understanding that sometimes if you're not in a position to speak for yourself because you're going through something traumatic, that you have somebody that can speak for you, and that be aware that this could be a side effect. Like, I don't know, mine could have been genetically triggered. I'll never know the answer to that. But they're seeing more and more younger women who are going through this. It's caused by oral birth control. So if it's something that is in your uterus, it's not going to have that same effect. But those have its own other set of consequences and side effects. So just be mindful of that. Because even when I was in the hospital, I had to fight with them because my blood sugar was high all the time. And at one point it was high, and the PA comes in. It's like, hey, we need to give you some insulin. I said, no, you don't. I'm not a diabetic.
Right.
So we're going back and forth at 2
Wow.
o'clock in the morning. And he's basically, oh, so you're telling me you're going to refuse it? If you're going to say that, then you need to understand why I'm saying. All I'm saying is I need you to monitor me for 6 to 8 hours.
Right.
Before you start shooting me up with insulin. I said, because what if you're wrong and what if I crash? Now you've introduced this into my body, and I wasn't quite that intelligent. And I was speaking to him at the time, but it was like, hell no, I'm not doing it. And we going back and forth. Finally, he did, and I was right. If he had given me that insulin, I probably would have crashed.
Wow.
And then the next morning, he comes in. The first time Dr. Beckham would come in all the time by himself, but I knew he happened to be out there. I said, well, why is he coming? Because I would say, now, if he goes out, if I hear him lie about what happened that night, I'm going to go butt booty off in front of everybody. But he says, like, yeah, she didn't want the insulin, and we watched it, and it came down. And I told him, I said, that what scares me about that, I said, imagine if I didn't know anything about diabetes.
Right.
What
That's
if I
I'm
didn't know
saying.
anything about
if you didn't
insulin?
speak up for yourself,
Like,
yes.
what if I was just tired and I was like, okay, do whatever?
Yeah.
Because what the surgeon said, agreed, it's like, yeah, you probably would have, because that's too much insulin at one time. Now you're going to crash, and now you have a whole nother set of issues. So being mindful and not being afraid to speak up. And if you can't have somebody in your corner that you know that will speak up for you. Girl, I ain't mean for that story to be that long.
Girl, it's
y'all
okay.
Y'all got to cut that down, but it's the
It's
power.
okay. No, that's important. Do you want to say what birth control or no?
I wish I could remember.
Okay.
I mean, it was oral.
Okay, so
It doesn't matter. It's
it
all
doesn't.
the same.
Don't.
It's
Yeah.
progesterone
It's
and
okay.
estrogen. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's oral, it's
Yeah,
oral. It has that possible side effect. It's rare.
Yeah.
But you need to be aware of the fact that it even exists, because we talk about the heart attack, stroke, don't smoke thing. You
But
see that
other
all the time, but
things,
ain't nobody heard of no adenoma.
No, that's a fact. And I feel like to your point, like we were just taught to get on birth control, not to be pregnant, or to minimize your menstrual cramps, or nobody speaks about the after effects it does to your body. It could cause cancer and all kind of things. So I agree.
But I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but I'm not advocating to not use
take
reproductive
it. Right,
I'm not
but
advocating.
it just happened
I'm just
to you.
saying for
your
me,
experience. Yeah.
Mine was driven by the long-term use, because I would have, like, once my long-term gynecologist retired, the conversation was, well, what are you on? Birth control. But they didn't ask how long you've been on it. And if they had known, oh, I've been on it most of my adult life, we didn't have those conversations. My old gyno said, well, we need to have those conversations soon, but I never had those conversations of, okay, well, here's what we may need to consider.
Okay.
Let's make sure you're okay, because you've been on this a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying to be mindful of that for long-term use, but also know that it's out there.
So. I'm so happy you're okay. And that was a very, like, interesting and trauma experience. And I'm just happy that God sent angels to be by your side every step of the way. So, yeah, women, take care of yourself.
Yes.
Make sure you get those checkups, and you make sure that they do all of the imaging inside of your body, because you might not feel like it. Like you said, you didn't know until, like, it was too late.
Yeah.
It wasn't too late, but, until you were in pain, I want to say. So, yeah, take care of y'all bodies. And like you said, don't blame yourself when things happen, because it just might be your experience. Now you can help another young woman that might be like, oh, I was feeling some type of pain. I need to go get checked. Right. So thank you for sharing.
It's rooted in, still, even with all of that trauma and pain, my takeaway is always that I was covered.